driving is not stopping in this country, right? Car ownership is not stopping in this country. What we are looking for is ways to reward people for something they are going to do every day from now for the next 50 years. Even if self-driving car becomes something, people are probably still going to own their own self-driving car, and it's still going to need maintenance.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of High Conviction, where we talk to visionaries who see things that others don't and pursue bold ideas. Welcome, Jacob, to the show. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me, Oliver.
I'm really excited to talk to you. Why don't you tell everyone what you're working on?
Yeah, so actually we launched yesterday. Very exciting. It's been a little less than 2 years of my life, so pretty great. We launched a credit card that rewards consumers as they pay off their auto loans and leases. So auto loans are the second largest form of non-discretionary debt spend in America after mortgages. And so we'll give consumers points for their auto loans and lease, as well as bonus points for their auto-related spend. So parking, gas, insurance, tolls, maintenance, even car washes. And then 1 point for everything. And we're a Visa card, so it's the Fasten Rewards Visa card. So we're accepted everywhere Visa's accepted.
That's so interesting. I know originally, I saw some clatter online that you were working with car dealerships for reward programs, right? What made you pivot to this credit card?
Yeah, so that actually is what we are still doing. But so your points that you get redeemed, so that you accrue on your credit card, can be redeemed for a few things. So they can be redeemed for traditional credit card stuff like hotel and travel, but they can also be redeemed at your dealership group. So one of our dealership groups is Bud Clary, based in Washington State. They have about 14 stores. You can go to Bud Clary Ford, Bud Clary Toyota, and redeem your points for service, maintenance, or even your down payment. So we really want to be the card where you can both go on your dream vacation or buy your dream car. With the auto prices have gone up 30% since 2020, the cost of a vehicle. And that doesn't include the cost of owning a vehicle, maintenance, things like that, insurance as well. So, and so as prices have gone up, we are really rewarding people for this large recurring spend that they have.
I see. Okay. So it's more about the auto owner ecosystem, and really the card is
Yeah.
the thing that ties it together.
Exactly. So it's been a very successful model that's been worked in hotels and airlines, right? But why not auto spend, right? You think about maybe your trips the same way you think about your auto spend, right? You have one big purchase a year, one or two family vacations. That's the same thing for your auto maintenance. You're spending this money, or you can save up for a larger vacation or a larger expense, being your auto down payment. And so, that's really where we're going to help and really kind of going after this auto spend, which is 5% of US GDP. And most of these categories are traditionally 1 point on credit cards. So we are going to give bonus points on the auto related spend and opposed to other credit cards, which are really giving bonus points traditionally on restaurants.
That's so interesting. One of my friends told me recently about a credit card where she gets points for paying rent. And it
Yeah.
sounded like you're taking that idea, applying it to the auto space. How did you arrive at this idea? Did you reason through this from first principles?
So totally. So Built, yeah. So I think you're talking about probably about Built. Built has actually been some of their C-suite are investors in us, and they've actually been advised that investors have been really helpful. They are kind of like have kind of taken this model of rewarding for non-traditional reward categories. And I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little inspired by the product, but they're still also going after the spend category of restaurants, right? And our goal is to reward for these non-traditional reward categories, where they give 1 point for rent, we give 2 points for loans or leases. But then beyond that, we are really going after this auto spend. So, I think this is something that you're going to see in a lot of different categories. So I know, there are companies coming out for mortgages. I know Built is also coming out for mortgages as well. But as far as I know, we are the only credit card that's going to reward for auto loans and leases, which, if you've been watching the news, right, is a big topic of conversation especially with tariffs as well.
That's great. Being the first mover in a white space is always exciting. How do
Yeah.
you see yourself differentiating from potential competing solutions? Not necessarily competitive
Yeah.
alternatives, right?
So I'd say our competitors are more like the OEM cards, right? So the auto brands have a card where but you don't get points. You only get points really for bonus points for service and maintenance. You don't get points for your auto related spend. So like we get for gas and insurance and parking and tolls. And then, when you have one of these cards, you have to buy another one of those brands and you have to use their lender. So for us, we don't care if your lender is your local bank, if you're using, Toyota credit, Ford Motor credit, if you're lending from your auto loan or lease, sorry, from your credit union. So we really want to be lender agnostic, brand agnostic, and just really want to give consumers these redemption options within their dealership group as well. So give consumers choice both on the redemption side as well as on whoever their lender is.
From the perspective of reaching your customers, what do you see as the biggest barrier?
It's really kind of like going and finding like that, getting that low CAC, right? So credit card marketing, you get bombarded with a lot of credit card, but no one's doing what we're doing. And that's also why we use our partner dealerships, right? So Bud Clary, for example, in Washington State, we partner with them to help us distribute our card. But now they're benefited as well because they see the benefits of the loyalty and retention. They see the benefits of the loyalty and retention as much as, and then only about 30% of customers come back to their dealership for service and maintenance. But then there's a huge data point that of those 30%, 74% of customers then go buy their next car. If you get your car serviced at your dealership, you're probably going back to that dealership for your next purchase. And that number drops down to 35% if you're going to like local mom and pop shops. And so our goal is to really start that cycle of service and maintenance, getting customers to come back for service and maintenance and then coming back for their next car as well. And so we really want to, utilize this model, as I mentioned, like that's working incredibly well for the airline, right? There's a reason why every time you're on a flight, they're offering you a airline rewards card. We want to really kind of take that similar model and bring it into the dealership.
That's so interesting. So many B2C fintech solutions seem to me as an on-ramp to the financial institutions where primarily, right, their goal is to do market education in a small niche. And at that point, you run capital light, right, and you own the brand. Seems like you're going in the completely opposite direction where your on-ramp is towards the auto owner ecosystem. Is that right?
Totally. I mean, it's driving in America, right? I moved. A lot of this kind of like ethos of this kind of came. I moved from New York City to the suburbs. Had a baby, adulting, and I was like, hey, I'm getting rewarded for everything. Why not my auto loan and lease? And that was kind of like the impetus of this, right? And I totally agree. And what it comes down to is we're a credit card that if you're an auto enthusiast, if you're like if you're an auto enthusiast and you have a bunch of cars and like you want to spend your weekends, going and driving places, or you just drive your kids to school and yourself to work, what it comes down to is, 99% of Americans are driving every single day, right? And so, automobile as an auto manufacturing and car ownership is one of the backbones of this country. We are a country built around, personal auto ownership. And so we want to be the card for the car enthusiast or really the people who just drive their kids to school and themselves to work every day. We're not here to be a niche card. We're here to really be as broad as we can for drivers, which is really Americans.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Something that also happened in the financial space is the idea of a bulge bracket, right? Where if you're trusting someone with your finances, you want them to own more and more of it. And at that point, you have an owned ecosystem, a little bit like, let's say, Apple or Microsoft, where their workplace or, consumer products. From your perspective, what is the end game for something like Fasten?
Yeah, that's a great question. We want to go and be kind of like the payments double-sided. On the consumer side, be the rewards and loyalty program, give you the points for your auto loans and leases, and then have this be a loyalty program for your dealership. But beyond that, we're also going out and building payments products for dealerships and for the consumers. I can't say what we're doing right now, but we're coming out with ways that will make paying your auto loan and lease significantly easier for the consumer and make it easier for the lender, and then also have a lot more, redemption categories, right? So loyalty at the dealership is one thing, but you have other spend categories, right? You do insurance, you pay your monthly insurance, you buy your gas, you're doing your EV charging. And we really want to go and expand right there. We have a lot of things in the works that I can't discuss right now, but I'll come back on the pod and we can announce hopefully in the next few months.
That's so interesting. So what I'm reminded of is the fact that right now Fannie Mae owns my mortgage, but there's a different company that services that mortgage, which basically creates, a bit of a marketplace from the perspective of whoever is servicing it. Because at the end of the day, if you don't know or deal with whoever owns something, you can capture some of the margins of the value passing through it and effectively commoditize those products.
Totally. And that's the thing is like, we are like on our card, you're not actually putting the loan on the card itself, right? So we're just rewarding the consumers, and that's the whole thing. And so, this is something that I've actually been asked, right? Like, will my bank allow this? And this actually isn't something that like the bank doesn't allows or doesn't allow, right? This is something that like, you're paying your auto loan, whether you're starting your auto loan now, you started a year ago, or you're about to be off your loan, right? We are agnostic to all of that. If you want to start earning points, just sign up. We will recognize that your loan is being paid, and we will give you the points, right? And so, that's the whole thing. Being agnostic, making this as broad as possible, and making it as easy as possible for the consumers, and just rewarding you for this money that you're spending anyway, right? It's $750. And what it really comes down to also is like, you know, tariffs are going to affect consumerism in this country, right? I am not an expert in tariffs. I'm not sure whether they are the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do. But what I know is that car ownership has gotten significantly more expensive. Even before tariffs kicked in, car ownership has gone up 30% since 2020, right? We are all feeling the effects of inflation post COVID. But now, a 25% tariffs on cars made out of the country is a very real thing. And I've seen I saw the price of a used vehicle go up 117% in the last 3 weeks. I mean, think about that. 117%. And, and because of the fact that tariffs are coming through, but also we're downstream from COVID, right? So when inventory dropped because manufacturing slowed down during COVID, we are now feeling the effects of that in the used car market 3 years later. And so when traditionally, right, there would be a big jump in in inventory, like that is really slowing down. And also people, dealers were charging a lot more for vehicles during COVID. And so people are now actually underwater for their auto loan and lease. And so people aren't turning in their cars like they used to. So I think it's something that we're going to be feeling the effects of tariffs, and we are also going to be feeling the effects of lack of inventory in used cars. And so just like the cost of a vehicle is going to go up. I am not sure by how much. I've seen estimates as low as $3,000 for regular cars and $20,000 for luxury vehicles. But that's a lot. So what it comes down to is that you are spending, like people are going to be getting these loans. People are going to be paying less for cash for vehicles than they are. And so, why not be rewarded? Auto loans are going up. They are going to be longer. There are staff that are coming out here that are saying that. And so, you're getting rewarded for your Starbucks and your Netflix. Now you can be rewarded for your auto loans and leases as well.
Yeah. I mean, this is pretty compelling, right? With tariffs, it's definitely the right time. You guys have
Mhm.
build behind you, so right team. And this is a white space. You guys are first movers. What are some challenges in the market that have hurt other teams from moving on this opportunity?
I think the timing was great, right? I think that there are kind of like a few different buckets you can do this in, right? Like of these large recurring spends. So there's rent, Built is moving on. There's mortgages, which a few other players are moving on as well. And there are kind of like there's also tuition. I've seen a card for tuition. Frankly, credit card advertising is kind of an annoying thing to deal with, and advertising to students has significantly more regulations. And I kind of thought like when I started this company 2 years ago, I thought this was like a very real thing to me, right? And something that. And I don't know. I know one had done this before me. All I can do is kind of like live my own life. But what I realize is that auto loans and buying of cars and car maintenance are never going to end, right? Even when you're not buying a new car, in 5 years, in 7 years, you, your spouse, your kids will be buying new cars. And so why not go and build up points towards your next vehicle? Right? It's something that you are always going to have. Driving is not stopping in this country, right? Car ownership is not stopping in this country. Uh, and so what we are looking for is ways to reward people for something they are going to do every day from now for the next 50 years. Even if like, self-driving cars become something, people are probably still going to own their own self-driving car. And it's still going to need maintenance, and some people are still going to want to drive, right? It's driving in America. It is not, and we are a country built on driving, and that means built on vehicles, and and a part of those vehicles is insurance and gas and EV charging and maintenance and car washes.
Yeah, that's interesting. So I'm still a little stuck on the ecosystem idea, right? Where because you're focusing purely on the auto ecosystem, there might be less fungibility between the points and the rewards that your customers are accruing. So one of the reasons why I really like my financial institution is that I can change my categories, spend categories, earn points, and then redeem those points in other categories, right? How do you counter position against something like that?
That's a great question. So, I'm not saying never, right? But as of right now, we're going after auto spend. Auto spend is 5% of US GDP. It is not a small number, right? It is trillions of dollars every year. And so, the driving ecosystem is where we are now. If we want to go and expand into other categories, we can always look at that. But as I say right now, like it's a big enough market, and let's get we're a startup. We launched yesterday. Let's do this product really, really well. Let's go build something that millions and millions of people want, and make it easy for the consumer and easy for the dealer, and then we can go and expand. And in terms of the rewards, right? I think this is actually a great point. You want the rewards to be as broad as possible. We want to make sure that we are not just rewarding for we're not just rewarding for your loan and lease, we're rewarding for gas, but giving you redemption categories that are broad, right? Consumers want broad redemption, and how they redeem is really up to them. But we're going to give them different categories of travel and of auto spend, and we'll have partners that are going to come through the woodwork. Have come through the woodwork, and I can't predict what those are, but we have a lot of things in the works that I'm really really excited about. But make it broad. People want broad redemption categories and recurring spend, right? There's a reason why. There's a reason why. Uh, you know, Most people go after travel because it's a broad category, but I'm really excited about auto. American backbone is built in vehicle. It's how people get to work. It's how people travel.
I love that. And to your point, yes, definitely a good problem to have when you're already in that position, right?
Yeah.
In that spirit, what noise or other information have you just chosen to ignore? What is not important to you right now?
That's a very good question. I think there's the thing of like, do people want another credit card? I think that's frankly, like that's the thing. I'm like, I think people want to be rewarded. What it comes down to is, first off, we're going after a very broad market, right? We're going after tribes in America, which is basically Americans, right? But I think what it comes down to is if you make the juice worth the squeeze, you will go and reward people, and people will sign up, right? And frankly, like tariffs and auto tariffs kind of being like top of the zeitgeist, and people being concerned about the cost of their vehicle is probably like keeps our card more top of mind than it would if we would have launched it at a different time. If you auto spend is, I mean, the average auto loan is $750 a month. It's only going to go up. It's only going to go up with tariffs, right? And so, do people want another credit card? That's up to them. But if we make the rewards enough for the consumer, I think people will sign up. And like honestly, this is what I've been told from like other people in the space. People are spending this money anyway. It is a large, large expenditure. It is a very 0 to 1 proposition. You're either getting the points or you're not, right? It's a $0 annual fee card. It's a Visa card. It's accepted everywhere Visa is accepted. If you want another credit card, that's really up to you. But you're either getting the points or you're not. So why not get the points?
At the end of the day, not everyone is going to be a credit card hacker, right? Being the
Yeah.
point guy, but hey, there will be someone, and it will make a ton of sense with that.
Totally, totally. And it's very funny. Like, I lived in New York City for 13 years, right? And you talk to people and they're like, oh, like, yeah, like it makes sense. But then you talk to anyone outside of Brooklyn and Main Staten Island and the Bronx, and they're like, oh, yeah, of course, right? You cross the bridge, and they're like, yeah, of course, this makes sense. It's a very exciting. I'm really excited, right? I'm very excited now that I'm driving every day. Now that I'm moved out to the burbs, I definitely I see the benefits even more than I did when I launched, when I founded the company.
I'm in a similar position being out in the suburbs of New Jersey. And for me, a big part of that narrative is the idea of self-driving cars, right? Maybe at some future point in time, I'll just be able to get into a car and it'll take me right to where I want to be. I don't have to deal with logistics of public transportation, etc. How does that fit into Fasten's story?
Yeah, I mean, I think self-driving cars are probably the future. Who knows, right? I'm a 14-month-old baby, little baby girl, and like I've had the conversation like with people like, do you think our kids will like will get their own licenses the way that we kind of think about them now? And that's an interesting question. I think this is something that like people have kind of thought about really since like Uber launched, right? I mean, like when Uber first launched, people said, "Oh, no one's going to. People are going to get driven around everywhere. Do that." And then it's like, yeah, like people obviously take Uber. They've taken cabs for years, but it hasn't decreased car ownership, right? Just because you're going to Ubering somewhere, it's like, hey, like I want to be safe. If I'm going out like having some drinks with friends, I'll Uber there and Uber back, or like I have like a longer trip or something. Like I want to go and Uber there, no, no, a longer trip. But like, I have like another reason I want to go Uber. There's always this conversation like, will it end car ownership? Clearly, that has proven to not be the case. And so, even if there are self-driving cars, it'll probably, as I see it, it'll probably be Oliver's self-driving cars or Oliver's parents' self-driving car. Also, you'll probably, at that point, I don't think it's going to happen in 5 years. I don't think it's going to happen in 10 years, maybe 50. And, who can predict the future in 50 years? Not me. So we'll see what's happening.
That's fair enough. And I guess the same for the narrative that, hey, you'll never own anything and you'll enjoy it because everything is, in the cloud of capital, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
From that perspective, I mean, fashion is a big blind spot for those guys. Do you have any blind spots that you're concerned about or any corners that you're concerned about what's on the other side of?
I think that there's always concerns that like a larger player will come and do this, right? I think like, but I think every startup founder has been asked that at some point in their career by someone in their founder journey, right? Why doesn't the big boy in the space do this, right? And what it comes down to is I've spoken with the large banks, right? I've spoken with people that say, hey, a product like this would take us 3 years and $30 million of consultants later. And in that time, you already have 1 million customers. And at that point, it makes more sense for us to like integrate or to buy you. Right. And I think that, there are banks. Banks can go out and put out a financial services product. But banks don't also have the wherewithal to do the loyalty part for dealerships. Right. So that's why I love this double sided marketplace that we're in. Because, yeah, one of the banks could do this also, right? Like with the success of Built over the last few years, they probably would have done it already, right? And so like our whole key is go build something that people want, build something that works for the consumer, for the dealership world, for the auto ecosystem in general, and then get as many cardholders as we can. And then that's really, that's a great mode. Get as many distribution partners as we can, get as many cardholders as we can, whether that's dealers or auto marketplaces or insurance companies, gas companies, right? Like there are so many different places that we can do this within the auto ecosystem. And so, if you go and get distribution partners, that ends up kind of thing like covering up our potential blind spot of why would some larger company not do that, not do this.
That makes sense. So the play is, hey, let's build up a network of distribution partners. And fundamentally, when you own those relationships, switching costs are much harder.
Yeah, and also keep CAC low, right? Like keep CAC low, benefit the partners, right? If you have the benefit for the partners and the benefit for us, that's really what we're looking for.
If the big banks are not a threat, if anything, complementary partners, not only now, but sometime in the future, are there any other threats that you're, keen on for what's in the horizon or any opportunities you're looking at?
Yeah, so as of now, right? Like I kind of eat and breathe this space. I have not seen anyone else doing what we're doing. I think if I would have heard about it, if there was one, I would have heard about it. But as far as I know, no one's doing this. That doesn't mean no one can. But the thing about launching a credit card is, and the thing about launching a credit card is, it takes a while, right? Especially now in the world of AI, right? Technical build used to be a moat. Technical build is not the moat that it used to be, which is why there's a lot of talk about like these vertical AI companies, but that should just be like a race to the bottom. Hey, like I built this company and what used to take 2 years, now it took me 3 months, which means someone else can go build a similar company in 3 months and offer significantly better costs, right? Which means like financial services products, financial services aspect of our product, there is compliance, there is regulation. It takes, a year and a half to build a financial services product. And so like we did it. I know what it takes. I was living and breathing this every day. We launched yesterday, right? I started this company about 2 years ago. And so these things, you can't just go and do it overnight. And that's really done because of regulation and compliance. And so if someone does come, I'll know about it, and by the time they launch, we'll be 2 years, a year and a half ahead of them from the moment that they start.
And a year and a half is a long lead time from the
A year
perspective
and a half is a long
of
lead
a
time.
long.
Moats are the world of moats, as you will probably hear in a lot of these podcasts, is really changing in the world of AI. Technical moats are not what they used to be.
I couldn't agree more. Jacob, your perspective has been so refreshing. I have one last question for you. Is there anything that I should have asked you that I haven't yet?
Yeah, the question being asked a lot is like, hey, how does it work, right? So, a lot of people just come up to me and they're like, hey, has this, like, do I have to get approved by my bank? No, you do not. We are here to make this as easy as possible. All you do is connect your auto loan. We recognize that your loan is being paid, and we will give you the points. Well, it's just us recognizing in the background. This is not something that has to be approved by your bank, by your lender, whoever your lease is or your dealership is. You want to sign up, you want to get points, we make it as easy as possible. And then also just if you have feedback, we're early. We're here to hear what you have to say, whether you're a card holder, a dealer, anyone. And so we're looking for feedback, and we're looking for partners, and we're looking to really go and just reward people in ways they haven't been before. Also, feel free to reach out to me. I am accessible. I'm the only Jacob Zaks in the entire world. Find me on LinkedIn. Get in touch with me. I'm happy to hop on a Zoom. If you're near where I live, grab a coffee, grab a drink, and you can pick my brain, and I can pick yours.
I love that. And I'm looking forward to following along. For others who are looking to
Awesome.
do the same, are there any channels that we should be watching? How do we keep track of you guys?
Yeah, so we are on fasten.cc. We're actually changing the name in a few weeks. The website's going to be fastencard.com. But right now we're on fasten.cc. It's Fasten Rewards. So, it's really, really exciting. I have the card right here. Also, very exciting. We actually found a company that does custom chips. So our next iteration of card, the chip is going to be a car. Pretty cool. And so, I think it's exciting. A lot of big partnerships happening. I'm really excited to come back on the pod in the future and announce as well. So I'm looking forward to coming back on if you'll have me.
Absolutely. Jacob, thanks so much for your time today. It was great to hear about your journey and looking forward to what you build.